Good morning. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred method. Welcome to the Chicago Department of Business Affairs Consumer Protection webinar. Please note any website or email that I mentioned will be posted in the chat. For those seeking business license assistance, you can visit us here at City Hall in our Small Business Center or call 312-74-GO-BIZ. Business license can also be applied for or renewed online at chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. We encourage all attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box to send your questions. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Today's webinar is entitled Business Licensing 101. And at this time, I will turn this webinar over to Linda for us to begin.
Thank you so much. Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Business Licensing Webinar 101. My name is Linda Ruelas, and I'm one of the supervisors here for BACP. Next slide, please. So here are just some of the overviews that we're going to be discussing during this presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about BACP and SBCs. We're going to be covering business licensing, 3 steps on how to obtain a business license, how to apply for a license, any application requirements, including zoning and inspections, ways to avoid common pitfalls. We're going to touch a little bit on public way use permits. We're going to talk about the permit intake center, as well as some of the small business center resources. And at the very end, please make sure you stay if you have any follow-up questions. Next slide, please. So about BACP and the Small Business Center. So here at BACP, we do business licensing for businesses and public vehicles. We provide business education as well as access to additional resources and also enforcing our municipal code and protect consumers from fraud. Within the Small Business Center, we have our licensing and permitting division of BACP. We like to think of this as a one-stop shop for business owners and any entrepreneurs in order to obtain a business license here in the city of Chicago. Next slide, please. Business licensing. So we cover any business license applications. We do any changes to any existing license, whether it's changing officers, updating business locations. We also help with case management. So when you come to the business center, you will get a business consultant as your point of contact, where they're able to explain to you all the different processes that we have here and the different types of licenses that we offer depending on your particular business activity. Obviously, we assess the business owners, so that they're able to better navigate the city process and give any additional resources if need be. We also have our public way use permit section. Here is where you can talk to a public way use consultant, and they can give you the link to be able to apply for any new public way use permits on their new online permitting system, as well as making any changes or updates to existing public way use permits. Next slide, please. Some of our zoning representatives. So what we have here is we actually have real-time zoning reviewers who are able to review your business license and any zoning requirements that it might need. With the zoning assistance, you also get, with SBA relief, they're able to talk to you with any special use permitting, and if there's any variances that you might need, depending on your particular business license and business license activity. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do have our health sanitation supervisor here on site with us, and she's able to do in-person consultations for anything that's food related. So any restaurants, food trucks, shared kitchen applications. She would be the one that would be reviewing and going over the steps that you would need in order to be able to be compliant with the health department. We also have our criminal history unit who do our background checks. As of right now, we are still not fingerprinting individuals on site, but our fingerprint analysts are still here and they are able to give you any updates in case you are wondering if there's any issues, if there's any additional information you might need regarding your fingerprint results. We also have solution stations where we're able to give you additional resource information, to help you with business plans, with SCORE, with our legal advice, the law project, as well as any small business loans that happen through Acción Chicago. We obviously have our education workshops where we help you with business licensing as this webinar, and also how to obtain any pop-up user licenses or host business licenses. Next slide, please. Having a business plan. So when you have a business plan, this actually helps you to evaluate your options, whether it's financing, operations, things of that matter. Business plans are not required in order for you to obtain a City of Chicago business license, but if you are seeking a loan through a financial institution, they may require you to have a business plan. And through our small business center, we are able to give you contacts in order for you to connect you with the organizations that we work with that will help you to kind of put a business plan together. If it's something that you need to present to a bank, these are free workshops. And obviously we partner with our non-for-profit organizations in order to connect you with them. Next slide, please. So what are some of the business license requirements? So most businesses that operate here in the City of Chicago do require a City of Chicago issued business license. There are some exceptions. And some of these exceptions are anyone that's licensed with the Illinois Department of Professional Regulation. So what does that mean? A doctor's office does not require a City of Chicago business license. Attorney's office do not require a business license. Architects, CPAs. So if anyone's licensed with the state of Illinois Professional Regulation, they do not require a business license from the City of Chicago. There are trade licenses that are issued by the Department of Buildings. And usually these trade licenses are considered as general contractors, electricians, plumbing, and any mason licenses. Next slide, please. So as of 2013, the department had a license reduction initiative, and it created a 3-tiered risk-based structure to help reduce the number of licenses needed for a particular business. We also have our emerging business permit, which helps facilitate any new business ideas and concepts. It allows new business ideas to be able to develop and evolve over time. And also for the city departments and city council to work with these businesses to determine which regulations are required. With our 3-tiered licensing structure, if you see, we have our limited business license, and this basically covers anything having to do with retail sales of general merchandise, clothing, school supplies, things of that nature. Then we have our regulated business licenses, which cover our home occupations, any hotels, long-term care. And then we have our specialized licenses that require a little bit more. That's anything having to do with retail food, liquor licenses, tobacco, children's services, which cover daycares, gas stations, massage establishments, things of that nature, which require fingerprinting. Next slide, please. So how do we determine our license fees and the terms? So our limited business licenses and regulated business licenses are $250 for 2 years. Specialty business licenses, the fees and the terms really vary by the license type. If there is any outstanding debt that's owed to the city, meaning that during the time of your application process, you have any outstanding parking tickets, water bills, things of that nature, we do require you to really take charge of that and be able to either get on a payment plan or pay off that debt. If it's something where you need to get on a payment plan, the city does offer various payment plans. And as long as you provide us proof that you are on an active payment plan, then we are able to proceed with the license and be able to issue the license. As far as payments for our licenses, they can be made in any form, whether it's a check, money order, personal checks are allowed, credit cards, cash. The only thing that we do not take are starter checks. In-person applications can be paid in our at our cashier that we actually have in office as well. Next slide, please. So what are the steps in order to obtain a business license? When you come in to see us here at the Small Business Center, we are going to license you however it is that you are going to tell us that you're legally structured. So obviously the very first thing that you have to determine is, how do you want to structure yourself? Are you going to be applying for your business license as a sole proprietor, meaning it's just you, no one else? Are you going to be applying as an LLC or a corporation? If that's the case, then you have to make sure that you register your legal entity with the Illinois Secretary of State, and that the Illinois Secretary of State has approved your legal entity and issue you a file number. And once you have the file number with the Illinois Secretary of State, then you also have to apply for your EIN number with the IRS. Think about the EIN number as like the social security number for your legal entity. And if you're going to be doing any retail sales of any tangible items here in the city of Chicago, then you also have to apply for the IDOR number, which you're able to get through the Illinois Department of Revenue. Next slide, please. So here again are some examples of the legal business entity types. As I mentioned before, we have a sole proprietorship, which is an unincorporated business owned and run just by one individual only. There are partnerships, which is a single business where two or more people share ownerships. The one thing to kind of keep in mind with the partnership is that when one of the partners decide to leave the partnership, that partnership is considered dissolved, and you might have to reapply again for that particular business license. So it's something to kind of keep in mind when you come in to apply. Obviously, you have a corporation, which it's an independent legal entity owned by the shareholders. Our limited liability companies are LLCs, which are a hybrid of the legal structure that provides the limited liability features of a corporation and the tax efficiencies and operational flexibility of a partnership. And then we also have our non-for-profit corporations, which are corporations that conduct business for the benefit of the general public without shareholders and without a profit motive. When it comes to determining your legal entity and really deciding which one is best for you, we always suggest that you speak to an accountant first, explain to them what it is that you're trying to do and kind of what your situation is, so that they can kind of help and guide you to what legal entity might be best for the particular business activity that you would be doing. When it comes to applying for a business license here with us, like I mentioned before, you tell us how it is that you're going to apply for this license. And as far as the fee, that does not change. So whether you're a non-for-profit organization, whether you're a corporation or a sole proprietor, the license fee is the same. Next slide, please. Some additional things to consider, as well as assumed names. So assumed names is how you're going to advertise yourself to the public. We always suggest, especially for sole proprietors and general partnerships, to make sure that you get and obtain an assumed name certificate, just to ensure that the name that you want to use is not already being used by another business entity, and that obviously moving forward, no one else is able to use that name as well. With the Illinois Secretary of State, like I mentioned before, anytime you do limited partnerships, corporations, LLCs, or not-for-profit organizations, when you register them with the state, once the state accepts that legal entity, they will provide you with a file number. We will need that file number in order to verify that your legal entity is active with the state. Like I mentioned before too, if you're doing any type of partnership, corporation, LLC, non-for-profits, you are going to need an EIN number that you're able to obtain with the Internal Revenue Service. And again, if you're going to be selling anything tangible within the city of Chicago, then you have to make sure you get with the Illinois Department of Revenue in order to obtain that IDOR number from them. Next slide, please. So we have two ways to make this easier in order for you to apply for a business license. We do have our online application with Chicago Business Direct, where you're able to go online and apply for a business license. It's accessible any time of the day, 7 days a week. And obviously your applications are processed during normal business hours. And you can also come in to see us in person as well. So we're located at City Hall on the 8th floor. We accept walk-ins Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. There is no appointment that is required in order for you to come in. I do suggest that if you are interested in applying for some of our more specialized licenses, like daycare licenses, tobacco licenses, that you do come in early, because it is a lot of information that we give you when you walk in. And we just want to make sure that we're able to provide you with all the steps and all the guidance that you need early enough in the day in order for you to get all the information that you need, because our zoning team does leave at 4:30 p.m. We want to make sure that we're able to get you in the doors, make sure that what you want to do is allowed at that particular address, so that when you leave with absolutely all your questions answered. If you do apply online, and if it's something that is time sensitive where you need an answer sooner than later, I suggest you just come in and apply in person, because when you come in and apply in person, as I mentioned before, the zoning team will be reviewing your application on the spot while the business license consultant is continuing on with the license application. Next slide, please. So what are the standard requirements for the application? So the business, legal, and DBA name, we need that information, any ownership information, and any legal entity type information. So anyone who is applying for a business license, we require, your first name, your last name, home address, your date of birth, your social security number. If you do not have a social security number, we can always take your ITIN number as well. And obviously, if it's a corporation or an LLC, we also need, percentages, who owns how much of the legal entity as well. We also need to know the business location, address, and the square footage. That is very, very important. Obviously, zoning cannot make a determination if you do not have a correct address or the square footage, if you are unaware of the square footage. We require the square footage of the space you're going to be occupying. So we don't need the square footage of the whole entire building that includes the parking lot in the back. No, we just need the square footage of the space you're going to be occupying for the business activity you're going to be applying for. We also need to know a really detailed description of any business activity that you're going to be conducting on the premises. And obviously a valid government issued photo ID for anyone that is applying for the business license. So if applicable, if you applied for a legal entity, we're going to require from the Illinois Secretary of State, the file number. We're going to be requiring that EIN number as well for any legal entity. And like I stated before, if you're selling anything tangible within the city of Chicago, you are required to have an IDOR number. If you are not selling anything tangible in the city, if you're just providing a service, then no IDOR number is needed. Next slide, please. So some additional application requirements. So some business applications, they require fingerprint-based criminal background checks of every owner, any corporate officer, member, or any person with a 5 to 25% or more interest in the business, as well as every on-site manager. So some of these examples of applications that are going to be that require fingerprinting backgrounds are going to be daycare facilities, massage establishments, tobacco retailers, as well as liquor licenses. Now, in case you have the business activities being conducted, obviously here in the city of Chicago, but the majority owner or one of the owners is not in the city of Chicago, they're in a different state or even in a different country, that is not a problem. We are still able to give you the information needed for those individuals to either be fingerprinted offsite in a different state or even in a different country as well. With regards to our liquor licenses, you have to have a site plan and any floor plans, corporate stock certificates, corporate minutes, the corporate structure chart, financial disclosure forms will also need to be included. They want to know where the money is coming from to fund this particular business activity, the lease or proof of property ownership, whether it's a tax bill, and any general liability insurance. When you come into our offices, we do have liquor consultants here on site who will be able to walk you through the process and any required documents that you might need for that particular license. Next slide, please. So a reminder, so before a business owner commits to a location, and this is very, very important, it's really important that you do the research on the location and that before you sign a lease. And I see this happening, unfortunately, one too many times where the applicant falls in love with the space, they feel pressured, they sign a lease, they come here to apply only to find out that that particular business activity is not allowed at that location, or they're going to have to probably even pull building permits to be able to officially use that business location for what it is that they're trying to do. I do not want to be a dream killer, a dream crusher. So I always suggest applicants that before you sign a lease, just to please come down and see us in person. I always suggest coming down here with a couple of addresses so that when you speak to the zoning advisor, you're able to tell them exactly what it is that you're trying to do. Give them a couple different addresses so that they're able to run these addresses and they're able to tell you whether or not what you want to do is allowed at that particular location. When it comes to zoning application reviews, at the time of license application, zoning conducts their reviews to determine if the business activity is going to be permitted at that proposed business location. Do not assume that because the previous business owner that was there was doing the exact same thing or the exact same business activity that you want to do, that just because you're going into that space, that you're going to be allowed to do that as well. For all you know, they could have been grandfathered in before there was an ordinance change at that particular location. You might not know the full details. So that's why I always encourage individuals just to please come and see us first. Come down with a couple of addresses. We'll be more than happy to run that information for you to make sure that you're able to get a location that's going to be beneficial for your business. Any zoning information is also available online by utilizing our DHED zoning interactive map. Again, you can always come in person. There is no appointment needed in order to speak to a zoning reviewer to ask any zoning related questions. Next slide, please. So when applying for a business license, there are some licenses that are going to be required to have on-site inspections. So depending on the business type and on the license type, there may be an on-site inspection that may be required by more than one city department before we are able to issue you the business licensing. When it comes to inspecting these inspections, once payment is made against the business license, the departments will contact you at the phone number you provided for us during the consultation in order to set up a day and time to go out there and inspect your business location. Some of the inspecting departments would be the Department of Buildings, the fire department, as well as the Department of Public Health for like retail food licenses. Next slide, please. So how to avoid common pitfalls? As I mentioned before, and I'm stressing again, signing a lease without considering zoning and any liquor license restrictions, beginning construction prior to obtaining a permit at the location, assuming that the previous owner's zoning designation will still apply to you, not paying any outstanding debt to the city, not addressing any outstanding building or license violations, forgetting non-city licenses. So whether it's the state liquor license, sanitation certificate with the health department, and making sure that if you decide to close out your business operation, that you do that when you decide to close the doors of the business so that it doesn't stay open and you're not incurring any additional charges without the business being open. Next slide, please. So I'm going to touch a little bit of our public way use permits. So public way use permits is anything, so basically anything on the city streets, our sidewalks, our parkways are considered to be public way use. The use of the public way requires a public way use permit. And the purpose of our public way use permits is to reduce any unnecessary congestion, any unsightly clutter, and keeping the public way clear for safe and convenient travel for all pedestrians. Next slide, please. So some of the public way use things that require permits would be any canopies, awnings, signs, banners, any light fixtures, balconies, anything on street level, planters, decorative pavers, sidewalk cafes, all of that also requires a public way use permit. Next slide, please. So with the public way use permits, they do have a new online system where you're able to submit these applications directly online. If you're having any questions, any concerns, or just want more clarification, we do have that unit here in-house as well. You're able to come in, no appointment is needed in order for you to talk to them regarding any sidewalk permits, any public way use permits. If you do have existing public way use permits and just need more clarification or just need help navigating the system, you're more than welcome to come and see us, and one of the public way use intake individuals will be more than happy to help you with that. Next slide, please. So some of our resources we obviously have with the city is obviously our www.chicago.gov/SBC with our small business center. So here you're able to find business registration information. You're able to connect with our ShyBiz Hub. You're able to find any financial assistance resources, business education options, finding local neighborhood resources. It's just a lot of information that we offer. I suggest you please go and check out our pages. And if you need any help with online applications with our Chicago Business Direct system, you're always able to call our number, and that's 312-744-6249. There is no appointment needed to schedule to come in to see a business consultant. Even if you did apply for an online application and just want to know the status, you're always able to call the number I just mentioned and the number that's on the screen, or like I said, if it's something that's time sensitive, I just suggest you come and see us in person and just apply in person as well. Next slide, please. So we also have and partner with neighborhood business development centers, and there are Chamber of Commerce and business organizations that have a really strong neighborhood network, and they're able to coordinate with local aldermen, city, and other community partners. They're a great resource if you have any additional questions or need help connecting with City Hall, the Small Business Center. They're a great resource and are local to your business. We also have the business assistance where we're able to provide information about a particular neighborhood, getting small businesses started, troubleshooting any city-related issues for our small business owners, connecting businesses to financial resources, any business-to-business and network opportunities, employment, workforce development and assistance, any marketing assistance, as well as connecting your business to the local community. Next slide, please. So this brings us to the end of our presentation. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to mention them in the chat. Let's see.
Linda, we have some questions. Let's see. What about a community association manager license?
I think with that, we need a little bit more description. When you say community association manager license, you have to think about it this in this particular term. Whenever we issue a business license, we start off with that particular license, the address. Where is it that you're applying from? That's the first step. The second step is exactly what is it that you are going to be doing from that particular location. So are you an advocate for the community? Are you more of a consultant providing consultant services? So what is it that you're going to be doing at that particular location? And then based on that, then we're able to see in what category you fall on, and particularly what license it is that you would need to obtain in order to be licensed within the city of Chicago. I see the next question is the category, will a fitness studio be? Yes. So any fitness studio, whether it's yoga, whether it's Pilates, personal training, requires a city of Chicago business license. So you would be required to come in and see us for that. Again, we would need to know the particular address, the square footage, in order to be able to see if you're able to operate out of the address that you are thinking about. So the next question is here that someone filed for their registration with the Illinois business. They sent them tax numbers. Do they need a City of Chicago business license? And this is for an art gallery. I will be a sole proprietor. So yes, art galleries are required to have a City of Chicago business license. Even if you are a sole proprietor, we're able to license you under a sole proprietorship. And obviously you would need a sales tax ID if you're going to be doing any retail sales out of this art gallery. But yes, art galleries do require a City of Chicago business licensing. Our next one is a trade license required in addition to a business license for a plumber electrician? So when it comes to trade licensing, all of that is done through the Department of Buildings. And if you go onto our website and if you go into the Department of Buildings site, they actually have the application online where you're able to download it. It's a printable application that you have to download, fill out, and provide some additional information. And they have an address where you send the paper application to. They do not take any applications in person. As I said, it's a printable application. You download, fill it out, and you send it to that particular address. And then they will be in contact with you if they need anything else. A lot of the times there is not a business license that's required for our department unless you are going to have a commercial office where you're going to maybe have secretaries who are going to be, taking the calls and doing the scheduling, and that would require a business license from us. But if that's not the case, then you would just have to work directly with the Department of Buildings for your trade license. Another question is, do we need an appointment in order to see someone at the Small Business Center to answer questions? No, you do not. No appointments are required. As I mentioned before, we're open Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. I always suggest just coming in early to avoid the rush because, we tend to start getting busy later on during the day. So I always suggest if you're able to come in early so that you're able to speak to a business consultant to get all your questions answered. Is there a way to get a handout for this presentation? Available access? Yeah, so you can, Stella, do we have a handout presentation that we're able to give, or is everything just directed through YouTube?
If they can send us an email to BACP Outreach requesting the information, we can send it.
Okay. So did you say IDOR number if you're going to have sales? I wasn't clear on the recording. That's what to be sure. So it is the IDOR number with the with the Illinois Department of Revenue. That's IDOR. And that's if you're doing any tangible sales within the city of Chicago. Next question, if we need a loan to secure space. I always suggest, I know a lot of the times, as new business owners, and trying to secure, funds in order to, to be able to open up the doors of your business. And I know it can be a process, but always come in to talk to a zoning consultant first. Even if it's a location that you do not have a lease for, you do not need to have a lease to come and ask if what you want to do is allowed at that particular location. Because really, depending on the type of business activity that you're trying to do at that address, there might be some additional requirements that you might need. And if that's the case, then if you're trying to secure a loan, that you might have to include that in the loan as well. So, before you get a loan, before you sign a lease, just come and see us first. The zoning reviewers, they do a really great job of showing you the interactive map as well. That way you're able to also do this on your own if you're still trying to look and finalize a location for your particular business. So I have a question with, you said no IDOR number is needed. However, the application requires this. So we have a business information sheet, which is the information sheet that we use in order to obtain the information that we need to generate a business license. Obviously, not all the requirements that are on there might be necessary for what it is that you're trying to do, but it's obviously a sheet that we put out there with all the information that we do need in order to generate an actual application. The IDOR number is not needed if you're providing a service and if you're not selling anything tangible. In regards to not being eligible for one, I can't really answer that because again, that's with the state. So you would have to go and speak with someone at the Illinois Department of Revenue to see how they can assist you if it is that you are going to be doing retail sales. I'm not sure what your particular scenario might be, but they should be able to help you and assist you with obtaining an IDOR number if it is required for what you're doing. But again, IDOR numbers are only needed if you're doing retail sales. So anyone that is, clothing shop, restaurant, shoe store, convenience store, you're selling things that are tangible, things that you're able to grab with your hands. That's when you need an IDOR number. If you're just a consultant, if you're just providing a service, then it's not needed. So if I have a venue that's considered a service or selling something, if by a venue, you mean you are just renting out your space to individuals, if all you're doing is just renting out the space, then that's considered a service unless you're selling, tangible things to them. If you're going to sell them the tablecloths, the plates, invitations, things like that, then that's when you require an IDOR number. So as far as timing, in order for a license to be approved, that really just depends on the type of business license that you are applying for. And what I mean by that is, obviously, there's some business licenses that require inspections from different departments. And if that's the case, then we have to wait for all of these departments to put in their approvals before we're able to issue the business license. If it's a license that requires fingerprinting, document review, then that might take a little bit longer. Again, we're able to work and process the business license as quickly as you're able to come to us with the information that we need. So, business licenses that have quick turnarounds are, anything with retail sales. So like a clothing store, as long as zoning approves it and you come in with all the required information, if you have a legal entity that's already set up, you come in with your EIN number, your IDOR number, the location is approved by zoning, then you walk out with that business license that very same day. If it's something like a daycare where it's going to require different departments to go in and conduct their inspection, and that's something that might take a little bit longer because, as I stated before, we just have to make sure that every department puts it in approval before we're able to issue the business license. So the other question that I see here is, what is the protocol if the business operates online inside of the home? So we obviously have our regulated business license for any home occupation. What are home occupations? For us, home occupations is, let's say you are, and you do online sales, right? Where you have a website, you're managing the website, you are allowed to have some storage at home. I mean, some, not a lot, some. There are situations where, depending on what it is that you're selling, zoning might come back and ask you to have a storage agreement, depending on what it is that you're selling. So things like that you are able to do from home. Obviously, with any home occupation, you're not allowed any signage outside. So you cannot advertise your business, through the front door with the banner and anything like that. As well as they don't want to see any foot traffic of anyone, constantly coming in and out of your home. So a home office is basically just for that, a home office for you to be able to do all of your business paperwork, your marketing, your scheduling, your billing, things like that. Can a garage be used as a business such as an art gallery? No. Garages cannot be used as a business. And if you want any further clarification on that, you can always come in to see us in person in order to speak to a zoning representative so they can kind of give you the areas where you are able to operate out of. But no, garages cannot be used as businesses. You cannot. I know we have a lot of people that say they do mechanic on the side and they do it out of the garage. That is not allowed. With regards to business license selling water on the streets. So we have what we call a peddler's license. The peddler's license is used to sell just general merchandise. So you can sell clothing, you can sell shoes, you can sell household items, you can sell fruits and vegetables that are not cut and are not cooked, that they're completely whole. But when it comes to selling chips, candy, water, food, that is not covered with the peddler's license. And I know that you see a lot of people out there doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, but that is not something that we cover. And in order to sell anything food related, we do have a mobile food vendor license. But with that requires a health department consultation. And the health department has to inspect the vehicle where you're going to be selling these food items from. We have our health supervisor who's in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if you can always come in on those days to speak to her directly so that she can give you all the do's and don'ts with regards to selling food for consumption on the city streets. So for a bakery supply store, what are the licenses that need it? So if you are baking at the store, you would need a retail food license. And you can also add sales of baking supplies as well if you wanted to. But anytime, anything for human consumption, whether it's you're just selling smoothies, whether you're just selling coffees, it's going to require a retail food license from us. You can obtain a business license for a home-based business. Again, it just depends on what it is exactly that you're going to be doing from your home, because not everything is allowed from home. And then we have, how can I find out if my business requires a business license? I would like to rent rooms out in my home for seniors. I'm not sure if you mean to list rooms with VRBO and Airbnb. So for that, you would have to go through our shared housing portal and apply for that, if that's what you mean by that. If not, I think we would need a little bit more information on that. So if you would like the presentation emailed to you, please make sure you just send an email to BACP@cityofchicago.org so that they can provide you with that information. So when it comes to space for a hall to be, so like if you're just renting the hall, no food, no liquor, again, you would have to come in and speak to zoning because for a lot of these venues, zoning is going to require a parking component to it. So it might be some additional steps that you need to do. So I couldn't really give you an exact time frame because it really just all depends on those additional steps you might need and how long it might take you to come back with what's required before zoning is able to put an approval into the system. So with regards to vending machines, selling health and wellness products, with vending machines, we require you to have a commercial location for you to store any leftover items. You're not allowed to use a storage facility or your home to store any overstock. And when it comes to, I'm not sure if this, so if anything for consumption, you would need a health department consultation. If it's something where it's just like lotions, creams, and things like that, that does not require a health department consultation. We would just need a commercial location of where you would have your administrative office to have basically the overstock of the vending machines. And then every vending machine after that would be linked to that commercial location. When it comes to selling anything, for special events, for festivals, we always tell individuals you have to get with the event organizer first to see exactly what they require for you to participate at these events. Usually event organizers, they will submit a list to the department, to DCASE, and with all the requirements that are needed for what it is that you're trying to do.
Linda, were you asking the questions in the chat or just the Q&A box?
I was answering, I think, the questions in the chat. Let's see, go through some-
Well, it looks like you think we're good on questions. It looks like we went through everything.
I think so, at least from my end, that's what it looks like.
But I was following along. It looks like we went through everything.
Yeah, it seems
Just
like
had
we
one
did.
come in. Our business license required for online businesses.
Yes, again, it depends what it is that you're going to be doing online, whether you're doing any type of professional consultation, if you're going to be doing anything with selling items online through Amazon and things like that, then you do require a business license from us.
You got something else that just came in. If someone is interested in opening a security company or security staffing agency, would they need to follow these same guidelines? It came in at 10:18.
Yeah, so with security companies, we always defer people to the state for that because I know there are some state requirements that are needed. And we do not license security companies or security personnel because again, that's something that's licensed with the state. You have to have some special licensing with them. But if you're asking questions in terms of creating a legal entity for your particular business model, what you're trying to do, when it comes to stuff like that, again, always talk to an accountant so that they're able to better explain to you exactly, what you need and what's better for your particular situation. But for a security company or a security business, definitely start with the state first because they're the ones that regulate that. So I know there's one here that came in. What type of business license would I need if I want to rent out offices suites for people in the beauty industry? So if you're trying to do something like salon suites, where you're just building out, these these little areas, for people to do hair, makeup, and things like that, I would start with coming into our office here and talking to zoning. Bring a couple addresses or the address that you're interested in. That way they can run the address and let you know if it's allowed and if there's anything additional you might need in order to have to operate out of that particular location. I believe you can apply for a peddler's license online through Chicago Business Direct, but if not, you can always come in to see us in person. Like I said before, we're available Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. We're obviously going to be closed Monday, but we will be available Tuesday through Friday of next week. Oh, and one of the requirements for a peddler's license is that your ID match your current home address. So it has to be an active ID. It cannot be a passport. It cannot be anything else. It has to be a government issued ID, whether it's a driver's license or a state ID with your picture and your current home address. So in order to find the costs for business licenses, you're always able to go directly to our website. So you can always go to the City of Chicago website and go under BACP. There we have a list of the different types of business licenses that we offer and the cost for each business license. So that's where you can find that information. And they wouldn't be on the government website. They would be at the City of Chicago website. When it comes to selling water in a fitness studio, with this, I'm not sure if you're going to have like a setup inside the fitness studio where you're going to be selling items, maybe energy drinks or water inside the fitness studio. And if you're separate from that entity that's already there, then yes, you will need to come and apply for a business license at that particular location. You don't have to live in the city of Chicago to have a city of Chicago business license, but you have to remember that we are just licensing your business activity in the city of Chicago. So if your business is located outside of the city of Chicago, so if you have a retail store located out in Berwyn, we are not going to license you. You would have to go to the Berwyn municipality and see exactly what they require for you to be able to operate your business from that location. So if you just want to update your doing business name as, that's a very easy application with us here. You would just come in and, let us know exactly what it is that you want to update your new doing business name as. You would basically walk out with the updated information needed in order to post at your location to show that you've changed your DBA. Obviously, if you have any signage outside that needs to be updated, then you need to speak with someone in public way to see what the steps are in order to update that as well. I know someone said for a starter social service, do you need a license and a space in the city of Chicago? Again, it really depends what that is. For us, it just boils down to what is it that you're going to be doing from that particular location. So are you doing paperwork? Are you providing food? Are you, what is it that you're doing from that location? In order to know more, then you can always come down to see us so that we can give you more information. Shared housing data, you can always go to you can always go to the City of Chicago website, and you can always just in the search engine, you can put shared housing, and it will bring you to the shared housing page. And it has all the information in regards to shared housing for anything related to Airbnb, VRBOs. And if you have any further information, there's also a link at the bottom for you to send your questions to, and someone from that team will be more than happy to answer them for you. I personally think the process would move faster in person. If you come in, like I said, if it's something that's time sensitive, always just come in and see us in person. That way you get a better understanding. Even if you don't apply that day, you can walk out with the information you need, and then you can always go back and apply online if it's more convenient for you. So in regards to, is there a long line? Like I said, we open the doors at 8:30 in the morning. Usually anytime between 8:30 and about 11:30, 12 o'clock, the lines are not too bad. But obviously once, noon starts to hit, people do need to take a lunch. So the wait times might be a little bit longer. But, just come in to see us early in the morning so that we're able to get you in and out as quickly as possible. So is a business license required for a business consultant and grant writer working out of your home? Yes, you are able to apply for a home occupation license for your home for grant writing or for professional consulting services. The fee is $250. It's good for 2 years. The requirement for that is that your ID match your current home address. Okay. Okay. There was a PowerPoint presentation. If you would like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, you can always send an email to BACP outreach at cityofchicago.org, and they'll be more than happy to provide you with that. Okay. Okay. So I think this wraps up our session. Again, if there's anything else that you would like more guidance on, or if you think of any questions later on throughout the day, just feel free to send an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org, and they will be more than happy to forward your questions over to one of us business consultants so that we're able to answer you and help you. If not, like I said before, come and see us. We're here Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And I hope that everyone has a great and safe holiday weekend. Thank you, everyone.